Oh yeah. Welcome guys to oh my goodness, Mr. Mac's already here. Mac, what's up? I don't know why it's your name fully like that, but welcome back. I was like over here like I don't know if people will show up immediately. There's Mac, right on schedule. Um so welcome guys to a stream that I've been wanting to do for a minute now. And I realized that I had never talked about Rambo on this channel before, and it's a franchise that I'm very passionate about. Sasha knows all about that, but yeah, I found out that Trenchy's a really big fan of the franchise as well. So I figured we both get on here and talk about the series. And I went back and rewatched all of them. Trenchy did as well, and figured it'd be fun. So thanks for joining me today, Trenchy.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. It's always great talking, especially Rambo. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah, it's my pleasure, man. So, when did you first watch any kind of Rambo movie? Do you remember when you first started watching Rambo or how you first discovered it?
I was young, like maybe 9 or 10 or something like that, and the first one was actually Rambo 3. Um, because I remember like we would sometimes when we were having lunch, there's like they had this like little bench around the table where I lived. It was a bench, and they had this little TV in the corner of the bench, and you could sit there and eat food and watch it on the little TV with the DVD player in it. It's a TV combined with a DVD player, little small cube TV, and watch Rambo 3 on that shit, eating sandwiches or whatever.
Uh huh.
And then I discovered the rest of them, and I discovered the masterpiece that is First Blood, and John Rambo is one of my favorite action hero characters. When we would play guns in the backyard, other people said other people. I said Rambo. I want to be Rambo. It's just
Oh,
he's
okay.
he's just a great, deep, rich character. And as a kid, I liked it for the action. As when I got older, I loved it for the character.
Yeah. Yeah, Rambo is a very, uh, especially for what he became later on, especially like First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, you take it at face value, they seem like just action movies, just explosions, popcorn, cheesy factor, whatever. But I think when you delve deep into those movies, they're a lot more than that, and you're able to see
Yeah.
John Rambo's journey as a character through each movie, and I really like that. Um,
Mhm.
but first time I seen Rambo was I had just watched all the Rocky movies and became a fan of Stallone, and Rocky's my favorite movie, so I wanted to watch more of his stuff. I ended up watching Over the Top, stuff like that.
Yes.
I love Over the Top, by the way. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. But I was never really an action guy growing up. Still not really. I'll watch action movies, but it's not my go-to genre. I'm much more for horror and comedy. That's much more, and I like drama too. But like action, to me, they have to stick out and stand out and be more than just explosions and gunfights and stuff like that. Usually, the more deeper action movies, I find myself enjoying more. And I think First Blood and First Blood Part 2 were the first couple of action movies I had seen. And I
Mhm.
actually got Rambo 3. It's funny you said that your first Rambo movie was Rambo 3. Pretty sure mine was Rambo 3 because I was real young and I seen the
Mhm.
DVD at the store and I had gotten Rambo 3. That was the only one I could find though. And I remember watching a little bit of it here and there, vaguely remember that. But over time, I
Mhm.
was able to find, First Blood, Rambo, First Blood Part 2. I was able to watch the trilogy. And that was a while ago. That might have been around when Rambo 4 came out. because that was like 2008. I was real young when I first seen Rambo.
Yeah.
It may have been a year after. I don't know. It was a while ago, but
Yeah.
became one of my favorite trilogies. So I think the Rambo series is a lot more than just action movies. I think there's a lot more substance to them, and the character of John Rambo is not just some generic gun wielding guy, action hero. It's like, no, it's a lot.
No.
There's a lot there, especially in the first movie. We're going to be talking about First Blood, which I guess we can kick off right now, talking about First Blood, not Rambo First Blood, First Blood. I call it First Blood. I know a lot
That's
of
what
people
it's called.
nowadays. Yeah, I know a lot of people nowadays call it Rambo First Blood. I even seen a thing said Rambo First Blood Part 3. And I was like, oh, what? That's so weird. Like, I just knew it as Rambo 3, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. I see that Rambo First Blood Part 3. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, that
It's
was
like,
on Letterboxd. I was like, why does this say Part 3? What's going on here, people? Just leave the titles alone. But First Blood, man, 1982, Stallone, very early in his career still. I mean, he had Rocky, but at this point in his career, Stallone wasn't making as many hits as he was making later on. And at this time, the only movie he really had was Rocky. Like Rocky 2 were big hits. Not sure what he made in between First Blood and Rocky 2. Did he make anything in between those two movies?
I'm not sure. Wait, First Blood is 80s, right? Because
Yeah.
okay, so I don't know, because Rocky 2 is like
9.
79. Probably not much. I don't.
Mm-mm.
Like the only I know he did a movie around the 70s called Lords of Flatbush, but I think that was before Rocky 2. I haven't seen that though.
I don't know if Rhinestone was before or after this movie. I can't remember. You know what that one is, though?
No, I've never.
Rhinestone is a musical.
It's a
sort of
musical?
yeah, Stallone starred with Dolly. What's her name? Is her name Dolly Parton, the country singer? I think he starred with her, and he was singing country. And it's just you go.
Oh my god,
dude! Yeah. I think so, Sasha. Yeah, I don't know. It's like they keep changing the titles around, maybe to make it more consistent. But that's the case, then to fix the Rambo 4 title, because Rambo 4 is so confusing in there. It's like, okay, what is this movie?
It's Rambo.
It's just Rambo. But First Blood, I know this is your favorite.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And to get into it, I'll actually let you start your discussion on First Blood. And what are your thoughts?
Are you sure?
Classic.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you know, I heard you got a lot to say, so yeah, sure. You know.
Oh yeah, like just stop me if I go too far. You know.
No, you're good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, I think First Blood is a masterpiece. I love this movie. It's what made me fall in love with the Rambo character. Because this is the movie that really sets up Rambo as this very tragic character. He's a man coming back from Nam. He's been built as the ultimate killing machine by, you know, kind of Dr. Frankenstein of war, fucking John Troutman. You could kind of see it like that, like Frankenstein and the monster almost. And fucking, you know, he's just trying to visit his friend, and he finds out his friend has died in the most awful fucking way ever. You know, his friend died slowly and brutally from cancer, so he's like, he has nothing left for him in this town, so all he wants to do is get a bite to eat and get the fuck out of Dodge. But like at the same time, you got Brian Dennehy, you know, the sheriff, and he's over here and he's like, this is my town, you know, this is a quiet town, I don't want no trouble, you know, and shit. And he sees this military guy, long hair, stands out for early 80s or like late 70s, whenever this is.
Do you think that
This
was
guy.
just a thing back then? Like maybe people that looked a little bit more rugged and stuff, longer hair, hasn't really had a shower in a minute. Because
Oh
I noticed
yeah.
a lot of movies that's mentioned. Whereas nowadays it's like nobody would really bat an eye, but back then it's like it really would stick out.
Well, if you looked a little different back then, if you were, a little bit more rugged, a little bit more hippie, if you were goth, if you were, if you did not fit the what society labeled as normal, they did not want you. And a great movie that handles this is I actually discovered this for Sasha, Easy Rider.
Yeah,
Good
yeah, I
movie.
still got to see that one. That's with Dennis Hopper, right?
Yeah, Dennis Hopper, Fonda, what's his name? Peter Fonda, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I got to see that one. I was watching a documentary about like something where they go through the most influential movies, and that was on there. And
It's good.
I've always heard of it. Is it on streaming?
It's on Tubi. Well, it was.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a big one that I definitely want to check out one day.
Yeah, but no, like he sees him and he's like, I don't want this troublemaker in my town, and he's being a dick because the sheriff's main fucking problem is he's righteous, he's pompous, he's fucking I am the law, I am what's right, this is my town. So he's driving Rambo out of town. And what I love about this movie is both men could have. This situation didn't have to happen. Rambo could have kept walking, nothing would have happened. This sheriff could have left him alone, probably nothing would happen. But
yeah,
it's
really,
like
the movie could have been just. That's what's so crazy about First Blood is that it almost couldn't have been a movie at all. It could have been just Rambo passing through a town, but it's the idea that you're going to fight back against this establishment that's trying to push you in a direction that you don't want to go. And just I like how Rambo's like, nah, like, what are you talking about? I'm going to get a bite to eat. I want a bite to eat from this town. I don't care. I'm going to, I like that part where he just decides to walk back casually,
Oh yeah, because the thing is, if they just let him get his like eggs and pancakes or what, whatever the fuck, sandwich, whatever, burger, it would have been fine. It would have been fine, but no, he was so set that this guy's a troublemaker. I don't want him in the town, that he brought trouble to himself.
Yeah. Just by simply turning and walking back into town, it just sort of makes Brian Dennehy just super like, oh, you're gonna go against my authority, and it's just like a battle of I think Stallone, because I was watching the commentary for this movie, and he mentioned about two alpha males and just them constantly the constant headbutting that you see in this movie, and you have one who's a Vietnam vet, and actually from the novel, one Brian Dennehy's character is a Korean War veteran. And so there's a really big tension there in the novel of Vietnam, sort of this war back then that was more talked about in the Korean War. And so Brian Dennehy sort of had this little rivalry with John Rambo in that way. So it gets even more personal in the novel, but even in the movie, you just feel it. They really make you feel the tension between them. Like he really doesn't like Rambo. And Rambo doesn't like him.
And it's great when he's being arrested, you can tell Rambo's using everything in his power to because his instinct is to fucking probably murder Brian Dennehy in this moment, or at least knock him out. But he's using everything in his power. He's doing everything to not, because he doesn't want to. He doesn't. His war is over.
But he's trying to go home.
Yeah.
The whole franchise is him trying to go home, and he just can't. No matter how much he tries, he just can't go home. I
know. The thing is, he wants the war to be over, but you can take the the man out of the war. You can't take the war out of the man, and it seems like war just seems to find him.
Yeah, it's
No
like it
matter
follows
what.
him wherever he goes. Even through small towns, there could be the possibility of a war.
He's a very tragic character in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's it's a classic, man. It's a classic movie. I remember as a kid when I first seen it. I watched it all the time because I love the setting of this movie. I think all the Rambo movies utilize locations very well. They shot this up in the mountains. Not really sure where, but it's obviously up in the mountain range, real cold. You can see the breath. And Stallone talks about, in the commentary, because I had actually watched these movies with the commentaries on just to kind of get some info here and there, especially from the first and the fourth ones commentaries. The Stallone commentaries, I was really able to learn a lot. The second and third ones, particularly the second one, had a lot of pauses in it, but I was able to learn. Yeah, there was actually a point when I was watching the second one where I forgot it was a commentary until they started talking again. I was like, "Oh my, that scared me." I was like, "Who's talking?"
It's like, oh, I do have commentary on.
Yeah.
Oh,
God, are you watching this with me? Are you giving feedback? But yeah, I was able to find out some stuff from Stallone and him talking about how cold it was and just working with the very difficult stunts. And they really I don't want to sound too old by saying this, but they really don't make movies like this anymore, where it's just risks being taken, shooting on location, dealing with natural lighting. The movie looks fantastic. And I have the movies on Blu-ray, but honestly, the Blu-rays, the ones I got at least, they look just like DVDs. So I would have to wait till a 4K box set because I want to see the first one in 4K because it looks okay. But I mean, it's pretty much a DVD transfer. It looks just like the DVD transfer.
Right.
But yeah, First Blood is more than just an action movie. As a matter of fact, there's not that much action in this first movie as we think. Like when you think of Rambo, you think of explosions and C4 tipped explosive arrows and rocket launchers. You think of all that. Really, in this first movie, you can probably count on one hand the amount of action scenes, right?
Yeah, and it's more, it's not really fighting. There's a lot of chases. There's a lot of survival moments. Because this movie is really a lot of things. You have character study. You have action. You have survival. You have so much going on. You have like proto slasher moments, even though nobody dies.
Yeah.
But that, I don't know, the Rambo films are practically at times slashers where you're following the slasher villain and rooting for him in a way. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned a good point the other day, that there's sort of all kinds of different genres within this movie. It's not just one type of movie. There's just so much going on in it.
Yeah, and you got like other themes like PTSD, police brutality, which is very relevant nowadays. This is like one of the old. I know a lot of older films tackled it, but like it, I would like to see other people today's age perspective on this because this is covering police brutality. They take him to the back and beat him, and the sheriff has no idea. Because he thinks it's his friend. He doesn't think his friend's going to be doing some fucked up shit. Which you should probably know, but, sometimes, people can hide shit,
Yeah. It's a commentary on that, too, because the police constantly are firing at Rambo. Even though he's surrendering, they're still firing at him. There's just constant times where you can tell the police are just taking it too far. It's almost like it's a man that's already broken, already been pushed to that limit, and they just came along and pushed him a little bit more to the breaking point. And it all leads to that ending where most of the movie is Rambo running from the police, fighting back against the police. And then it gets to the ending where he just grabs the freaking this giant ass gun and starts blowing everything up. And it's all practical, it's all real. Looks great. Although I'm pretty sure he killed some people. There are some people that are like, "Oh no, he didn't kill anybody." There is no way he didn't kill anybody. That man was letting loose on buildings.
Well, here's what I think. And I think I talked to John about this last night. Is like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, nobody runs out of that gas station, but there are cars out front. I think the lights in the gas station are on. So are the guys just out back having a smoke by the woods or whatever, and they just turn around and it's like, dive for cover!
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Or is like the poor store clerk fall asleep behind the counter and it's just get blown up? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like there's no way that someone at least didn't get hurt from that. There's no way.
He doesn't mean to kill people. He technically only kills one person, but like, I don't know, man. That gas station sequence always confused me. I'm like, are they just leaving the lights fucking on and walking home? Like, what the fuck?
They're all just hanging out back. Meanwhile, there's just a bunch of explosions happening. And how do we know that police station is completely empty? You're telling me that Brian Dennehy is the only cop in the entire police station at that point?
I think so. I didn't see anybody else. I guess they're all out looking for him, which is another. I love this movie. It's like they have the National Guard and shit, and what I like is, I don't know about the National Guard in real life. They might have military training, but in the movie, these are just a bunch of fucking glorified, children, essentially, in my opinion, with these high artillery weapons. It's like, these are not soldiers. No. These are just scared motherfuckers that should not have these types of weapons on hand.
Like weekend warriors.
Yeah. But they're all here trying to be soldiers. You got these fucking cops and fucking, and again, I don't know about real National Guard. They probably have more training, and I don't know if they have access to bazookas or fucking grenade launchers. But, like, These are a bunch of just regular people scared out of their mind trying to be soldiers, trying to be what Rambo actually is. And I find that I like the comparison. And I think that's what Troutman was trying to tell the sheriff. He's like, look, you're over here trying to have a war with a real guy. Your guys don't have training. This is the real deal. You're not a soldier. You're a cop in a quiet town where nothing happens.
Yeah. It's almost like Rambo is not taking as seriously as he should be. And like Rambo's on a whole other level than these people. And they're thinking that he's just some criminal. We're gonna go out and get him, bring him back. No sweat. But they really don't understand until Rambo starts hunting them down one by one. Where they're like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, and the thing is, he does that all without killing them. He put them in the hospital for sure. But this man is he took out your whole crew without killing them. That's like, you should know by then that's another level. But I know the sheriff is blinded by anger. His friend, he sees his friend as being unjustly murdered. That's not what happened. We know that. He doesn't know that. And it's so interesting because, like, I think the sheriff's definitely more in the wrong. He is definitely more of the antagonist of the movie. But you can see where he's coming from, and I find that so interesting. Like, they didn't just make it bad guy, good guy. No, it's like they both are doing bad things, and but they're both doing it for reasons they feel is right. And it's so interesting because neither of them feel like they're in the wrong, and that's how you know you have a great antagonist, when he thinks he's doing the right thing. And then I love when he's questioning himself as well.
Yeah, it's like almost like the battle of the egos or something like that. Like it's just two guys trying to
Yeah.
prove to each other that, oh, you think you're bad, huh? Like look what I can do. It all leads up to the ending though, which is a very for the most part accepted ending. I know some people have controversy with it.
Yeah.
I know some people have like problems with the way the movie ends and how maybe it could have been different. I know there was like 3 different endings filmed for this movie. One of them involved Rambo dying, and
Yeah.
to me though, the movie ends perfectly because it is the perfect way you end this movie. Because any other way would have made it generic. Any other way would have made it, by the numbers. And if you would have done it the other ways, you wouldn't have had the franchise. And to
Mhm.
me, that's a bad thing because I love the franchise. So um the ending of the movie, I remember when I first seen that, it really hit hard because of
Mhm.
Stallone's performance, and it was a performance that you didn't expect. You didn't expect a scene where it was just him going to be breaking down like this. He seemed like somebody that didn't have that kind of, maybe he was just he was hiding away that emotion. So when it gets to that point where he does break and he literally cries to Troutman and hugs him, and it's just such a really emotional scene. I think it's truly one of Stallone's best performances, and I think it's the perfect way to end the movie.
I agree, because it's like you have all this buildup. You have these guys outside, and Troutman is like just why you keep doing this? Why you keep doing this? He's like, yeah, you've been pushed, but you did a whole lot of pushing back. Why are you doing this? And then Rambo just lets everything that he's been holding on to ever since he was told his friend was died, because he's grieving this whole movie as well. That people seem to forget he is still. That's like fresh. That was, I think that was same day shit, or maybe like a day after, but like he is grieving his
Mm-hmm.
friend throughout this whole movie, which is adding to it, the grieving, the PTSD, which he doesn't break till he gets reminded of the war and shit. Like everything has been building to this moment, and I like how instead of violence, it shows the mature route, and Rambo just has this weird fucked up therapy session with Troutman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what saved his life, because I think if Rambo kept trying to keep going, I think Troutman would have assassinated him essentially, or tried to. But since he
Yeah.
saw that Rambo was, since he saw he does, there is a kinship between them, and he sees like, oh shit, why this is happening, and he's able to talk to Rambo, and he's like, come on, let's just go. And I think since Rambo finally erupted and he let it all off his chest, he was at the point where he's like, yeah, I'm done. You can take me. Like,
Yeah, it's like almost you don't really know what Troutman's thinking in most of these scenes. Is he thinking about saving John? Is he thinking about putting John out of his misery? Is he thinking about, trying to, because there's some scenes where he knows what's going on, but nobody else does. Like he knows John survived the tunnels and he's okay. Like he knew he made it.
yeah, I
So
love that scene where he's looking at the tunnels and he's like, he sees that there's still a little bit of it, like, not destroyed, and he kind of shrugs his shoulders and is like, yeah, I'm not saying shit. And then he has
yeah,
that diner scene with, the sheriff.
yeah. He's just basically he knows God didn't make Rambo. I did.
Yeah, dude, Troutman's one of the best hype men's ever. Like, I know, as Sasha was like, better than Flavor Flav. Yeah, fuck Flavor Flav. I don't want Flavor Flav hyping me up. I want Troutman. He's like,
Yeah,
you're for
way
you.
better than Flavor Flav.
Get one thing, Sheriff. What? A whole lot of body bags.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of John Wick a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
So yeah, that's First Blood. We'll give it a ranking out of 5. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I think it's a masterpiece on the same level as you. I think it's one of the best movies out there. One of my favorite Stallone movies, and it's more than just an action movie. It's even more than just a chase movie. It's just a really well done film in general,
Yeah.
and I do think it's a special movie.
I give it a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. It's great masterpiece. Nothing wrong with it. Yes, great movie.
Noise. Yeah, it's that's a good one, classic. Um, but the story continued after First Blood, and of course, a few years later, 1985, we got, to me, one of the greatest sequels of all time and one of the greatest action movies ever made. First Blood Part 2. Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
This sequel, man, this is a totally different type of movie from First Blood. But to me, that's why I think it's on the same level. It's a totally different movie. It's a different tone. It's definitely more on the action, definitely more on the visuals. But good God, it is just such an entertaining flick. This is such a fun, quick movie. It goes by at a very fast pace and picks up right after First Blood. We have John Rambo breaking rocks, slinging the sledgehammers. You know, he's doing his time, and he gets this mission. He's going to go in and take some. Well, Troutman doesn't tell him this, but Troutman's letting him know about there are these POWs in Vietnam, and they're going to send them back in and have them help out and see if they can rescue these people. And of course, John Rambo is like, "Do we get to win this time?" And Troutman says, "This time it's up to you." And I fucking love it, dude. You had the opening titles in fire. And I love the Jerry Goldsmith score in this. Very different from the first movie. Unique, its own type of score. And of course, Rambo is going to be on this mission to go back to Vietnam to rescue POWs. He's told to take pictures only from our lead villain of the movie, Murdoch. And you have the guy from Karate Kid in there as well, the instructor, the villain instructor. I don't remember his name. Do you remember?
John fucking Kreese, who was
John
also
Kreese.
in the Vietnam War. So secret backstory? Maybe.
Holy crap. It all makes sense. That's why he was so bitter. He got kicked in the balls by Stallone.
I think he was in Vietnam or Korean War. I don't know, but the Kreese was in some sort of war.
Yeah, and basically Rambo gets sent in, and he's on this mission to rescue the POWs. Finds out that he's been double-crossed. Troutman can't really help him out with that, but Troutman does warn Murdoch about this. He's like, "You got to understand who you just screwed over. You didn't just screw over just anyone. Yeah. You know, you've got one thing, Rambo." And it's just, it's from there on, it's Rambo getting even. And I think this is truly one of the greatest movies out there, action movies out there. I think it's such a fun film, great sequel. That's why I let you start the first one off, because I know that you were gonna, you're really passionate about the first movie. But I'm really passionate about part 2 as well. So, I'll let you give your thoughts on part 2 though. What's your thoughts on Rambo First Blood Part 2?
I think it's a pretty good sequel. Yes, we get more of a fun, over the top kind of action tone to it, but they don't really go too far with it yet. You still got the undertones. You still got like the Rambo character. He's only going back because he doesn't want to leave people behind. That's his whole thing. No one gets left behind. And I love the scene on the boat where he's talking to I don't know her name, but the Vietnamese woman who he befriends, and he's just talking about like how he just wants to survive and he wants to win, and he's like my luck is my knife, and he's talking about how he's expendable, and he knows how they see him. He knows
Mm-hmm.
how like most people see him. He knows that I'm just a guy people send in to do crazy shit that no one else can do, because if they lose me, they lose me. I'm super valuable, but they can make 100 more probably like me. He
Yeah.
understands how the U.S. military works, and I like how that kind of the themes come in, because of course the villains in this movie, you got the Russians and the Vietnamese, but you also have the American government being shady. And I like how the Russians and the Vietnamese are definitely villains, but like you also have the stuff where it definitely comes down to Murdoch, like you said, being the main antagonist, and him having the final moment with him and being like, you better not fuck over anybody else. You better, make this right, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like like he says, we want our country to love us as much as we love it. And
Great
I
line.
really like that sentiment. Like
Yeah, great,
it,
great line. I really enjoy it. That's a great way for Rambo to kind of speak about sort of what he feels about this situation and how he feels about
yeah.
how he's feel that maybe he's been treated like he's this machine that's been made, this killing machine, this
The
war machine. You know.
the self awareness and not the fear to like criticize our government, like in a war movie, which they've done before, but it's always good to see, like it's always good to see not just a one-sided war film where it's like, oh, there's the bad guys and these are the good guys. I like how it's more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just some great moments in this film. You have some great side characters. The Vietnamese woman, I don't know her name because it was in Vietnamese.
I
I
think her
don't even
name
know if they say.
was Kobao. I think
Oh, Kobao. Like
it might have
Kobao's
been. I don't know.
great.
I'll have to look that up. Might have been Kobao.
I love Kobao. I think she's a great character. I wish there was more of her in the story, but I get why what had to happen happened. I love the scenes where Rambo's just like hunting motherfuckers down, pulling people in the holes, becoming the dirt, taking people out.
Yeah, this is definitely
Uh,
where we get to the point to where Rambo is super Rambo. I mean, this dude's going around, and I love the freaking third act. The third act is one of the. It's just when I was younger and I seen this movie, the third act made me just jump for joy. Just seeing Rambo go through fucking battling helicopters, slinging arrows to people's heads and through their freaking chests and throwing knives at people. He's going through blowing up freaking village. It's just
yeah,
crazy. He's doing everything. He's taking what is that gun called? I always forget what it's called. It's a big gun. He's just taking it. He's fucking blowing up helicopter. He's taking on the entire country of Vietnam by himself. He's just like, oh my God. Gets a helicopter, goes back, freaking kicks the dude in the balls, goes in, grabs, shoots everything. All that technology that he was told that is better than survival. He's just taking his anger out on the technology and just grabs
yeah.
Murdoch and just mercy, lets him live out of mercy. It's like you
I'm
throw him
coming
in,
for
I'll
you,
find you.
Murdoch.
Yeah, another great scene is when he's being tortured. And I like
Yeah,
that part where he is allowing himself to get tortured, but it's the moment that they threaten to hurt another person is when Rambo's like, okay, that's a really good moment. It shows that Rambo has a little sliver of humanity there, and he really is
yeah,
a good character. He has sympathy, but that really helped strengthen that part of the character of that scene. And
yeah. It's great, and I feel like because I wonder how that would have went. Like, I wonder if he would have talked if Kobal didn't show up, because he sees Kobal for the floor with the gun, and he realizes, okay, here we go. it's time, it's time to do some
Yeah.
super Rambo shit. I wonder, would he have talked for that man? Or what? I wonder, because, there definitely was sympathy for there. He didn't want that guy to get hurt. So, would he have tried to fight on his own without the backup? Would he have talked? I wonder how that would have went.
He probably would have just kept being tortured because he was already being tortured for a little while anyway. So he probably would have just never said anything. But he had his moment and he realized, like, okay, you're letting me say what I want to say to these people. I'm going to tell them exactly what's going to happen. And he does. He goes on this revenge route. Really sad moment where Cobal dies.
Yeah.
And it's a really sad moment because they just kissed. They're kind of becoming a thing. And as soon as she walks away, she gives Rambo her necklace. And she just walks off and gets just shot brutally. And I remember that being such a crazy scene. And Rambo buries her, and he has the mud, and he's just anger, just pure anger, and I love it. It's just such a good ass movie, man. What would you rate Rambo First Blood Part 2 out of 5?
Oh, I gave it a 5. I think it's a great sequel. Yes, it is different from the original, but it still has enough of those serious themes, those dark, and I feel like it stays true to the Rambo character. Like, even though we have silly moments like him playing chicken.
Right?
Wait, what? My bad.
It's still a pretty dark movie, right? It's still got those moments.
Yeah, torture. Like, he loses Cobal. Like, there's some shit in there, and that Cabal's like, he sees a kinship in her because she's like him. She was put in as well because of her father, and she just wants to go to America and be free of all the bullshit. And of course, she dies, and like, yeah, I'd say 5 out of 5. And the ending sequence with the fucking playing chicken with the Russian bad guy.
Yeah.
And fucking blowing them up. Like, yeah, good movie.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Same rating as the first movie. The only thing that I thought stuck out in this movie, rewatching it this time, that I thought was a little weird is they bring in the Russians in this movie, and they kind of come out of nowhere, and they leave little hints here and there. Like there's an ammo box that has Russian lettering on it, so you have the idea that maybe the Russians are working with the Viet Cong and everything. And it felt a bit random. Like it felt like almost as if they were like, well, we got to have the Russians in here because we need some more villains. And I don't know if you really needed the Russians in this movie, especially with Part 3 focusing on the Russians as well.
Yeah.
So that felt a little weird.
I know they probably wanted a villain that could talk and flesh out, but like, I don't know. I think either they could have done that with the Vietnamese, maybe have one of them that learned how to, or have subtitles or something.
Yeah.
Or what you could have done is maybe they weren't ready for this, kind of like the villains in Part 4. There's ways to make like faceless villains that don't really have like a leader or speaking lines fretful, like the guy in the dark sunglasses in Part 4. Like, they could have done something like that. But I like the Russian bad guy. He was cool. He's definitely better than the one in Part 3. I like the one in...
I'll give you that. He was better than... Is it the guy from that actor? Is he from Russia with Love?
I'm not sure.
I think he might have been in that movie too.
I gotta see that.
Yeah, he's a lot better. He kind of has more charisma. We'll get to that villain in Rambo 3. I think he's a lot better than the guy in Rambo 3.
Comrade. You are comrade, just on other side by fate.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's the thing is that kind of became a cliche in the 80s. Like every villain was basically like Russian. We had to have the Russians as the villains. It kind of was overused. It felt generic. But that's probably my only problem with the movie. I think everything else is nailed. I love the look of Vietnam, being back in Vietnam. John basically getting this redemption. This demon that's followed him his whole life, he's going to go back and try to make the wrong things right. And I think it's a perfect follow up to First Blood. It's a perfect follow up.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, it's a great one. But a few years later, 1988, we got Rambo 3. And like I said, this is the first one I remember buying and owning and watching. And what do you think about Rambo 3? Do you think this is because this is the one in the series that a lot of people have problems with. I mean, it didn't do very well when it came out, critically or financially. It's kind of a bad timing type of movie because the Russians are the big bad guys of the movie, and right as this movie came out, the Cold War ended. So it was like, okay, now the Russians are the good guys, but in this movie, they're the villains. Do you think that this is just a case of bad timing, maybe it not being necessary? Like, what do you think happened with Rambo 3?
Like, I didn't even think about that. I don't know. Like, I like Rambo 3. I have a little bit of nostalgia for it, but even, like, looking past that, it has a lot of problems, but it's still, I think, an enjoyable movie. But if you look at it, it's literally kind of a copy and paste of part 2, missing some elements. Like, you got like, Rambo doesn't want to fight again, but which I know is in all the movies, and but instead of, he has to go rescue POWs, he has to rescue Troutman. There's Russian bad guys holding him captive. He needs help by a couple people to rescue Troutman and the POWs, or the other people, being held captive. He has to fight another large Russian again, because when you have Russian bad guys in a movie, there's usually just one really huge Russian for some reason. You always got to have that one big Russian that, Rambo's got to fight, and he's got to, try to outmaneuver him. I like the movie, but if you look at it, it's a little lazy. But there's a lot of good aspects to this movie. Like, Rambo's good, Troutman's good. I like seeing the Afghanistan people as the good guys for once in a movie. Sad that we have to have the Russians as the bad guys again. I wish they would do more with the Russians as the good guys, but but it's cool to see, especially us growing up in the 9/11 era. It's good to see, like, Middle Eastern people, being represented in a good light. That's a positive. Sadly, we had to sacrifice the Russians for it. But yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, they always point out, like, why is Rambo help out the Taliban? And it's like, no, that's not what this is. Like,
they're not the Taliban yet.
No. I always hate when people say that. It's like, you gotta understand, this is 1988. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, Rambo 3, I like this movie a lot. I think it's a good movie. I think for what it is, it's a very solid, very fun, entertaining flick.
Yeah.
I enjoy the beginning of the movie a lot, where Rambo, he's stick fighting, takes the money that he wins and gives it to the monks. A lot of donations, a lot of him just giving up his time to help build, and just doing things here and there. And Troutman goes up and talks about this mission with him, and of course Rambo is like, my war is over. I'm trying to move on, type of thing. And Troutman keeps telling him the great conversation about going full circle. Like, when are you going to come full circle, John? And I love that talk. Because, when I was rewatching it, it was a little cheesy, where he's like, let me tell you the story, John, about the sculptor. And, like, the art was always there, but we just chipped away the pieces. And I was like, oh, man, okay, this is a little, all right, what's going on?
You didn't like that? I like that.
I thought I like it. I just thought it was a little bit like, okay, where'd this story come from? I don't know, but it was cool. I liked the message. Like John Rambo was always meant to be this. This was his destiny, but they just helped him. They helped chip away the edges a little bit, I guess you could say. They helped make him more of a. I don't know how to say it. I don't know. It's like improved, I guess.
Yeah.
And like you said, Troutman gets kidnapped and Rambo has to go and save him. It's a very simple plot. Meets up with these rebels that are trying to fight back against the Russians. And we meet some characters along the way. The supporting characters, I don't really think are the strongest in this movie. The kid character was all right. The friend he meets up with was okay. They didn't really try to build them up at all. It felt like it was just kind of like, oh, he just has some backup. Which I don't know why the Rambo movies became, oh, Rambo needs backup. It's like, man, he does a lot better on his own. He doesn't really need backup here, but okay.
They wanted side characters to have fun with and, have Rambo make connections.
Yeah.
And like I like his connection with the kid, him giving the kid the lucky necklace from Cobell, and like I think the guy's name is Menasula or something. I thought he was a fun character. I love how this whole movie everybody's like, you're on your own. This isn't our fault if anything goes wrong. And Rambo's like, yeah, I'm used to it. I heard it before.
Yeah.
But one thing about part 2 in this is like I wish he would just not talk as much. Like I don't know who he talked like, because of like part 2 where they're like torturing him, he says fuck you, and then in this one he's like making jokes, and it's like, I don't know, I get it, you and Troutman are friends and this is your environment, but it's like, I don't know, it still feels like Rambo, but like at the same time I'm like, I don't think Rambo would be making jokes at this moment. Like, you're surrounded by a bunch of Russians with airplanes and shit, and you're over here making jokes.
Yeah. You're about to face the entire, like, Russian military that's in there, and you're over here cracking, like, wisecracks and stuff like that. It's kind of out there. There's some moments that work, other moments that don't. The moment that is so over the top is where he takes his gunpowder and blasts it through gun, like through an injury, like through he got shot in his side, and he takes the gunpowder and cauterizes the wound that way. And I was just like, what the hell would that? He'd pass out. There's no way you're over here freaking yanking a freaking arrow out through the wound and not passing out. Like, it was just like, what?
Setting off a miniature explosion in your body to cauterize. I don't think it's good to be putting like bullet powder in your blood. I don't know. I don't know if that's healthy.
And there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, here's the thing about setting Rambo 1 and 2 in the forest in the desert. Rambo has a lot of cover. In this fucking movie, he's in the fucking desert, and he's over here battling an entire Russian army in a little tiny trench. And I'm like, there ain't no fucking way this man survives in this.
You got the trench.
He gets shot a couple times and he's still going. He's like throwing grenades and Molotov cocktails and shooting rocket launchers and.
Dude, he's running to the fucking. They're like shooting all over the place and just slaughtering all these people, and Rambo's just running across this open desert field to get to this big gun, and he's just dodging all the bullets. And then that part where he has the Molotov cocktail on the horse, and he's about to fight a tank with a Molotov cocktail on the horse, and it doesn't go perfectly.
Still missing him,
and he's just like, ah. It's like at least we did get some stealth moments in the cave. We got some good like stealth kills when he's getting into the camp and in the cave. Those were great when he's in the cave. And I like the, straight up action at the end, but it's like, holy shit, at that fucking ending where he just crashes the tank into the fucking helicopter.
Oh, that's awesome. I will say I love that. I love
It's
that part.
fucking dope. It's fucking dope.
It's
Just like
why are you flying the helicopter so low?
yeah, or like
Just
what
fly
was
up
that?
and bomb them. That's all you gotta do.
The part with the big Russian and he ties him up and he fucking pulls the grenade and the guy hangs and explodes.
Yeah, man. There's just some moments, man, where in the movie that like I want to say it is a great action movie. There's some good stuff in it, but there are some things like in the beginning, Troutman just goes in. They're killing everyone, but they just so happen to kidnap Troutman. I'm like, what the fuck? What makes Troutman so special? Like, why would you kill everyone else? Oh, not him. Don't kill him. We're bringing him in. And it's just like, okay, they bring him in, they torture him. The villains are awful in this movie. I really am not a fan of the villains. They're just generic, one-note villains.
I feel like it's a watered-down version of the first villain, where like he's just there and he's like, you know, he's like trying to be like, I am friend to you. Like it's like, no, the last guy did this way better. What are you trying to do? And it's like that's like I don't know. I feel like since 2 had so many different villains, and then 1, you know, you have like doesn't, you know, it's not really a villain. It's like just a more memorable, you know, kind of struggle between 2 people. Just this one, it just feels like, yeah, it just feels like very generic and just just very much. It feels like they're like, let's make part 2 again in the desert. And I still, and don't get me wrong, I like this movie. There's still a lot of good in it. The action's fun. There is some good character parts from Rambo. I love seeing his love for Troutman. You know,
yeah, I feel like this
great.
is the movie where him and Troutman are the closest. They're almost like at friend level in this movie. They're
equals.
Yeah, they're both on the battlefield. We're seeing Troutman fight with John in the battlefield, which is pretty cool. I like the moment where the Russians bomb this base and they attack it, and Rambo's just sitting there in the smoke, and he's just like looking around. He's trying to figure out, okay, I got to do something here because this is horrible. Yeah. I like that moment. There's a lot of good moments in this movie still. What is that?
Yeah.
Blue light. What's it do? Turns blue. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else you want to say about Rambo 3? I think it's a solid movie, great sequel. Well, it's a good sequel. I like it. It's decent. I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. Obviously not as much as the other ones, but even though it's probably my least favorite in the series, it's still valuable. It still belongs in a way. And even though it probably was a case of maybe slightly bad timing as far as marketing goes, as far as the plot goes, I do think it's a very solid movie nevertheless.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fun movie. It's your, you know, it's your fun action movie, Rambo. This is the one. If you just want, like, well, I think 2's really good for action, but also if you just want a fun, crazy time, you know, you watch Rambo 3. You can, there's some deep moments there with the Afghanistan people talking about, you know, what's been done to them and stuff, which is beautiful. But most of it is just silly, like, let's fight tanks with Molotov cocktails, which is like, yeah, yeah. It takes a while to get going, but once you get there, it's like, this is so fucking stupid. I fucking love it. Let's go.
There's that one badass moment where he fucking wraps that one Russian guy and then like straps a bomb to him or something.
Yes, that he pulls the grenade pin.
Huh?
Yeah, he pulls the grenade pin on him. He has a grenade on his chest and he pulls the pin.
Yeah. Frickin' pushes him down, falls, blows up. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Rambo 3. Did you give your rating for it?
I give it a 4. I almost gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, but then I thought about it. I'm like, this movie's fun. I'll give it a 4. It's good.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's still a fun movie. It's definitely not a bad one. But
no, it's enjoyable.
Years later, because 1988, Rambo 3 was not a big hit. Financially or critically, it didn't do very well. And it kind of put a halt on the franchise. And I think in between 3 and 4, you had a cartoon really enough of Rambo.
Yeah. We are not covering the cartoon.
Why is there a cartoon of a man who murders people?
Well, they did RoboCop. They did Toxic Avenger, the cartoon.
Yeah. It's like, what were they thinking? Rambo in Part 2 takes a C4 arrow and blows the guy up in the smithereens, like pieces.
Well,
you're like, we're going to make him a Saturday morning hero.
I don't know. The people making the cartoons, I love them to death, but they gave us shit like, oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mighty Ducks, where the ducks play hockey and the turtles have ninja skills. And then it's like, oh, Rambo? Yeah, we'll make him a cartoon. He'll just, we'll make him laser bullets, that would work. Laser
beams. Does he even use a knife in the cartoon?
I don't know.
They probably use like a laser knife too. Don't worry, it doesn't kill them, it just knocks them out. But in between 3 and 4, I think you had maybe some, I don't know, just like cartoon stuff. Not really anything going on with Rambo. But do you remember when Rambo 4 came out? Because I was about 9 when Rambo 4 came out. So I remember a little bit of it when it came out.
I don't remember how old I was, but I know I was a kid and people were like, which I don't know, looking back at it now, I think people are kind of missing the point, but people are like, this movie's fucking brutal. This movie's fucking insane. There's so much blood and guts. This movie's fucking brutal. It's the most brutal Rambo. And, as a child, you're like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember my dad, my parents had rented this movie and they were going to watch it. My dad was like, hey, I know you're a big fan of Rambo. You want to watch Rambo with us? And at the time, I was a kid, I was probably playing a video game or something. I was like, not right now. I'll watch it later type of thing. And I just remember hearing the reactions from them watching the movie and be like, oh my God. Holy shit. He just eviscerated it. Oh my God. Like everybody was flipping out. They were like, oh, dude, you got to see this movie. It's so crazy. And I remember the same thing. I remember people at school, people around were just talking about how brutal the movie was and how crazy it was. And eventually I'd seen it, of course. And Rambo 4 to me is a fantastic return. It's one of the best returns out there. I put it on the level of the first two. I really do. I think 1, 2, 4 top tier for me. I think this is a fabulous sequel that continues in a very kind of an unexpectedly dark place for Rambo. Like Rambo is in a very dark place in this movie from the very start. There's no hope left. His mentality is literally fuck the world. And it's this one beam of hope that comes into his life. And this character, I don't have the actress's name.
That is Julie Benz playing Sarah, and the only reason I know that is I've been rewatching Buffy and Angel, and she actually plays the exact opposite character that she plays in this movie. In this movie, she's a personification of hope and pure innocence, and she brings Rambo to the light kind of single-handedly. Well, in Buffy and Angel, she's an evil vampire that like wants to eat babies and shit and just likes murdering people and having fun because she has no soul. So it's crazy because I had seen this movie before, but I wasn't really good at picking up on actresses, and I forgot she was in this movie. And after rewatching the show, I'm like, damn, this is interesting. But I like Julie Benz. She's also in Dexter. Great actress. Great actress.
Yeah, she does a great job in this movie and talking to Rambo in a great scene where she's like, doing something good doesn't mean you're wasting your life, And I think that moment's very special, and I think that Rambo needed a character to come along and kind of help him out with that. And this movie, of course, deals with Burma, which at the time was not really known. Not a lot of people were talking about Burma and what was going on over there, and just the genocide and massacres that were happening over there. And Stallone going there and shooting this movie, I thought was very brave, and it's a interesting story because it's a unique story, and the villains in this movie are like evil, pure evil. They're probably the darkest villains in this series. And I will say, Rambo 5, they tried to outdo, but you know, they both have dark villains where it's just like, wow, like these guys in this movie don't even have to say a word, and they're just their actions. Just look at what they're doing. They're going through massacring villages and just going through and just killing kids, throwing babies in the fires, slowly stabbing kids. And it's just really, you know, shocking imagery. And the music they put over it in the massacre scene, the village massacre scene, that music, man, it tugs on the heartstrings. It makes it very sad. It makes it very emotional. And yeah, I think that the villains are definitely probably the most brutal villains are in this movie, I would say.
Yeah, because and like you said, they don't have to say a word. All you see is like just all these Burma people, and I guess that they were doing this in real life. And you have the dude in the sunglasses, and one of the darkest scenes for me is when they're torturing the village. That was bad, but when they have those women dancing and they're like throwing the water on them, and they just start raping them, and all the other guys are in the background just cheering and kind of having the time of their lives watching these women get beaten and raped, and they're putting that red powder in the air. And I'm like, what the oh my god, it's just just both those scenes, both the village attack and the fucking just mob kind of mentality, you know, rape scene, just both of those scenes are just horrifying. And when Rambo eviscerates these motherfuckers, you're kind of like, go ahead. I don't, fuck them. They deserve it.
The moment that he eviscerates, like guts the lead villain, is such a crowd pleasing moment, because not only are they over here massacring villages and burning everything down, and there's a really crazy scene where they put these landmines in these rice fields or whatever, and they have them run through it, and people are blowing up into practical pieces. Like, it's brutal. It's insane. And I know Stallone was. Oh, my bad. What's that?
And my bad. I just want to say one thing real quick. I think what makes this movie so good is like Rambo's in the darkest area he's ever been. He's in the darkest part of his life. I'm guessing Troutman's gone at this point. I'm guessing Troutman's dead. Maybe that's what driven him. He's surrounded by darkness, and he chooses to. He's like outside of Burma. He chooses to surround them in darkness. And then this one person shows up. This one pure, truly pure person shows up in his life and gives him hope. The like walking, talking personification of fucking hope. And he decides, I'm going to fight for this. I'm going to fight for hope. And even in this darkest area, even among the most evilest of people, Rambo is willing to fight and die for this hope. And in the end, he is able to find peace even through the darkest of places. And that's why I think it's a beautiful and almost pretty much a perfect ending to the franchise, even though I do like the next installment. But yeah, my bad.
Oh no, you're fine, man. Yeah, it's this is the first movie without Troutman in it, so Rambo doesn't have Troutman to go to. He's truly alone in this movie. And I actually am very curious. Why do you think he never went home? What stopped him from going home?
I I think he was ashamed of himself. I think he was afraid to go home. I think he wasn't in peace within himself. There was a war still going on, and it took, you know, like someone reminding him of hope, to actually, because I think he was just, I don't know, he was restless, and I feel like he just never really found that inner peace till that movie, till he was shown the way by this one character who had only a few lines, was able to show him the way, like you're not wasting your life saving theirs, like, I think showing that there's still hope in this world, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that finally gave Rambo the hope, and the actual ability to be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm going home. Maybe I shouldn't, maybe I will be accepted. Maybe my fight is over. Maybe I can be free of this war, this never-ending war
Yeah.
within myself, and that I keep getting pulled back into. Maybe I can be free, because I think at that point he thought he was never going to be free. So why not just live in a fucked up area? Why not? If you're always getting pulled off to go on some crazy missions, might as well, if your life's always going to be dangerous, might as well live that dangerous life. If.
Yeah. I do like too how even though uh the girl's character was able to maybe shine a little bit of light into Rambo's life and to give him a little bit of that hope. I love
Yeah.
that moment at the end of the movie after the 50 caliber massacre, which we'll get more into that in a second. But I like that moment where he just looks at them, doesn't even say a
Yeah.
word, just looks at them, and that look in his face is almost like, "See what I tried to tell you to avoid. This is what I tried to warn you about." Like, so
Yeah.
he helped her, she helped him. He made her realize that you sometimes there's things that you can't change, and look what this calls. It calls this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a
There.
great moment. It's a really, really good moment between those two characters. Not even a word
Yeah.
spoken in that either.
There's also a mini arc for the one guy, the other kind of what's it called, missionary, biblical
Mm-hmm.
missionary, the guy that's like, yeah, I know you think you did the right thing saving us, but you should never kill. And then he has to bash a dude's head in with a rock, and
Yeah,
kill somebody
and
in the
even
most
he's like,
brutal way.
"Holy shit! What did I just
And
do?"
yeah, and so I think he understands Rambo at the end. So that's not only like a thing to him, that's a thing to or thing to her, that's a thing to him as well. But there's some great side characters in this movie. Sarah, like the
Yeah, I
the
like
the Belgian
Schoolboy.
schoolboy. Yeah.
Yeah, the schoolboy character is one of my favorites. I like the dude with the, is it called a bucket hat, or it's like hunters wear a lot of military hat. The Asian guy with the beard. Thought he was a
Oh
pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah, I thought he was cool. I actually grew to like the asshole character a little bit there.
He's a good. I think he contrasts to Rambo because he's sitting there like, I'm the professional here, and then he
Jesus
realizes,
Christ, I
no, I'm
can
not.
swim faster than this.
Yeah, he's
Get
out
this
of his
fucking thing
league.
going.
Yeah, the boatman stays with the boat.
Yeah, and I love how Rambo just stares him down like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, this is more of the Rambo I love, the silent fucking warrior. He's not a soldier, he's a warrior.
Yeah,
And
he's just like looking at him like, you ain't on my level, dude.
because the thing is, at this point, he's only there. He's like, I'm gonna rescue this person I have a connection with, and I'm gonna fight for them and fight for these other people. I'm not here for any of you fucking mercenaries. I don't give a fuck. I'm just here to do the mission and get out. And I'm here to help these people.
Yeah. There's a lot of great action in this movie. and it has reputation for good reason. I do want to say though, there is some CG in this movie that doesn't really look the greatest in retrospective. Like looking back on it, there is some things where I'm like, that doesn't look very good, or the CG, like when the bomb explodes, it's CG.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little shoddy. It's probably the worst part of the movie is some of the CG work, but it. Good God, man, there are just some scenes that are just so brutal. Him shooting arrows through people, landing on landmines and blown up into pieces. The ending scene with the 50 caliber, him blowing people into fucking sandwich spread like fucking strawberry jam, blowing people into fucking paste.
Yeah.
It's like one of the craziest action scenes I think that's out there. And it's that rage, that absolute rage from Rambo, just taking out all that anger and just blowing everything, blowing boats up, blowing jeeps up. You had the missionaries over here blowing heads up. It's just headshots everywhere, people being blown to bits. It really is a crazy
Schoolboy.
end. Yeah, schoolboy over here blowing heads apart. There's a double headshot, right? I think.
Yeah, yeah. Like I kind of wish we got more of Schoolboy. I um I really enjoy that character. Like um and I wish we got more of him because I like how he's the only one to come back and he saves Rambo's life. Rambo's about to die for Sarah, and he saves them, and it's like those three are on their own little thing, and then everybody else is in their part, and
Yeah. Yeah, there's also scenes of Rambo, a lot more of that stealth, him being in the shadows, sneaking
yes,
around in the rain. Reminds me a little bit of First Blood Part 2 in the rain, sneaking
yeah,
around, ripping throats out. And yeah, a lot of good just sequences. And a lot like First Blood, it's not a pure action movie. There's a lot of time in this movie where it's just dialogue and
build
talk.
up.
Yeah, total build up to that third act. And I think it pays off immensely.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
so
character study. It's also
yeah, it
another
goes
kind of
back to its
character
roots.
study.
It goes back to its roots. It goes back to the subtlety, the much more. Let's try to do what First Blood did and tell a story and tell
Yeah.
a story with action, but let's really focus on the Rambo character.
Yes.
And so the end of the movie does have Rambo finally finding that peace and going home. And that's a big reason why when Rambo Last Blood came out,
Hmm.
I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. I had a desire to see it. To me, Rambo 4, he went home, he found peace, he's there. Leave it alone. You don't need to add any more to that story. So I thought.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Well,
before we get into the Last Blood, do you have any final thoughts on Rambo 4?
yeah. Going off of what you said, my thing on Rambo 4, I think Rambo 4 is the perfect ending. I think it's the crowd pleaser ending. I think it's a great story. It's brings back more of the Rambo I love from like 1 and a little bit in 2, but this is like 1 and 4 have probably my favorite versions of Rambo, and 5. Just
Mm-hmm.
the how I see Rambo is this like this guy who wants to do the good thing, but he has a beast inside. He has a monster on inside, and if you push him or if you get him to release that beast, he will, and that
Mm-hmm.
beast will fucking tear you apart. He's a very tragic character to me, and while I think this is the perfect ending, I will say I think 5 is the ending that we deserve. 5 might
Yeah,
not be
yeah.
the ending we want, but it's the ending we deserve. I think that sounds weird, but that might sound weird, but that's just how I see it.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you, and I didn't expect that from Okay, so 2 days ago, if you were to ask me, if I were to think about how Rambo 5 fits in the story of Rambo, and do I think it's needed, it would have been a totally different answer than what I would give today. Because, yeah, we're going to be getting into here in a minute. But Rambo 4, I give it a 4.5. It's another great movie, and that's a great follow up. The only problem to me is the CG. There's some CG that doesn't age very well, but besides that, pretty much everything else works in the movie for me.
I honestly didn't notice it. I give it a 5 out of 5. I'm pretty simple with movies. I fucking love it. Fucking love Rambo 4.
Oh yeah, it's still great. It's still, to me, on that level. It's a great one. Well, it's a long road. It's hard as hell. But here we are. We're at Last Blood. We're at Rambo Last Blood. And this has been a journey. A journey.
Yeah.
So, Last Blood came out in 2019. Trailers dropped. Everyone was hyped. I heard about it. And I was like, oh, God. This was coming out around the same time as all these other reboots. And I was just like, oh, no. They're throwing Rambo in there. You know, nowadays we got Indiana Jones thrown in there. We got, like, Scream. Got Evil Dead coming back. We got all these franchises coming back. And, of course, Rambo Last Blood was amongst a lot of these movies that were coming out. And so, as a result of that, and me seeing most of those movies and thinking that they were either okay, or they're so-so, or they're not really needed, they're just kind of cash grabs, whatever, I didn't see Rambo Last Blood in the theater. I didn't rent it. I didn't watch it till last night. And let's get into Rambo Last Blood, because I think that this movie, picks up right after part 4, and I must say that I appreciate how this franchise is very consistent. There's no reboot. There's no disconnections. It's all one big storyline. I really, really do like that. And Rambo's a much older character in this movie. No more long hair. He's looking gray. He's no more headband. He's looking a little bit more like a rough kind of Western cowboy look for Rambo. And he's run down. He's still having the PTSD. He's still struggling with whatever's going on inside. But he's found a lot more peace with his life. He's a lot more talkative. I appreciate the dialogue scenes. And he has this granddaughter. And who would it be that's with them? It's the granddaughter, and who's the other character?
I don't know if that's the sister. Yeah, I don't know if that's Rambo's sister or the mother's, because, like, Gabrielle, the granddaughter, calls him Uncle John. So I don't know if that means that he's his mother's sister, or if it's just, that's just a nickname. I don't know the relation of this woman, because she's not the mom. She the sister of I don't know. This family tree confuses me.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here? Like, I wasn't sure about that. I was like, so it's his granddaughter, I think. But who's this lady over here? Is that his sister, or is it just like her aunt? I didn't know really what was going on. But
I still like her. She's a great character, and I think like she definitely has a connection to Rambo, but I just don't know fucking how. And I'm very confused.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Just like, what's going on here? But this movie is a lot like a roller coaster for me when I was watching it. It starts out, it's going up, and I really enjoy everything I'm seeing. The flood scene, he realizes he can't save everyone. It's bothering him. He has, things haunting him. He's having PTSD flashbacks in the tunnels.
Which is not in the original cut, by the way, which is bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Why is that not in there? Because that's a great scene.
Yeah, there's that scene. I'm pretty sure the first table scene where he's talking to her at the table and saying, "I can't save everybody. You can't turn it off." Call back to part one, staying true with the character. And like, there's another scene where he's reminiscing about just life on the farm, at the breakfast table, and it's like, why did you cut this? Watching Rambo be civilized and actually be like a civilian for once, is great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think those scenes need to be in there because it really added more. So where does the movie pick up then in the theatrical cut? If none of that's in there, where does it pick up at?
I don't know. I
How
think
do you start
Sasha
that
said it's
movie like
just him
that?
on the horse. It's just him on that horse.
Oh, what?
Riding, when he's in the little pen riding? I think that's what Sasha said.
Oh, no. They cut that. See, that stuff, I'm glad I seen that in the movie because it really added. I like the dialogue scenes in this movie, and I think Stallone. I have a controversial opinion about Stallone in this movie. I think this is his best performance as Rambo, acting-wise, as in this movie.
I really like it, but...
Well, it's hard to say because he did a great job in part one. Even part two, I think his acting's underrated in that movie. Did a great job in part four, but I don't know, something about the way he played it in this movie, the beaten down Rambo, the sympathetic Rambo, this is a guy who has what he's been through, what hell he's seen, and
yes,
just to see him go through one more journey of hell, it's very well done with Stallone. His acting's on point. There's not one line that I thought was phony or just him phoning it in.
No.
Because when I was going into it, I was asking a lot of questions because Trenchy, you'd seen it before me. I was like, is it even like Rambo? It doesn't look like Rambo. He doesn't even have the headband. What's going on here? I was worried about that. I was like, oh no.
And I was trying to be like, because look, I went in and there were some things I was rolling my eyes at times at some things. I was like, okay. But like, what I love about this movie is it stays true to the Rambo character. And the part of Rambo I love, like I said, the tragic thing of a man who just wants to be out of the war, but they keep bringing the beast out of him. And it's kind of the dark mirror of part four. Part four is, finding hope in the darkest of places and through it finding peace. And like in this one, what happens when your human personification of hope and love and life, Gabrielle, spoiler alert, is taken away? What had happened if the last light in your life is taken away? How will you react? How far will you go? What will the beast come out? What will happen when a man is pushed again? To probably the most angriest and darkest point we've ever, I will argue, the darkest point we've ever seen Rambo hit.
Rambo goes into the darkest place in this movie, and you see that not only that rage come back from part four, but you see it even darker. Rambo is he's a guy that finally found that hope. He finally went home. His journey was over. He grew a little bit more. He's a little bit more older. He's taking pills. He's still fighting them demons, but he's in a lot better place than where he was in part four. And to have someone come in and rip his heart out, like how he says in the movie, I love that metaphor of ripping the heart out because it happened. They went in and they took this one thing that Rambo had that he probably could have died with peace with, and it's no longer there. And it's like, no matter what I do, my heart keeps getting taken. And it's really a tragic story. I do agree with you. It really is. It's deeper than just action. It's deeper than that. And you got to watch the movies to understand that, because at face value, they look like just normal, generic, da-da-da. And I've seen Die Hard. I've seen other action movies. And, I think that's what a lot of those movies are lacking is story. Like, there's no really reason for me to sit here and care about certain characters and those and other action movies because they're just invincible guys who are just invincible and throw out one-liners. But Rambo's a lot different than that to me. He's a lot deeper than that. And this movie is not perfect, though. There is a point in this movie where I was literally getting worried. I was like, oh my God, this movie's going downhill fast. Because the granddaughter goes to Mexico to meet with her father. And I was like, why? Why do you care? What the fuck?
Well, no. I think, dude, like, you gotta think, when you are, like, abandoned by somebody, you always want to know why. You want to know why. So that was fine. It's just the part where he's acting all nice and then he comes into the blue light and he's like, I never cared about you. I'm like,
terrible.
Oh, where did that? Okay. What were you going? Okay, that's a weird choice.
That? Like, what? So he's just an evil guy just to be evil. Like, there's no motivation there. There's no reason.
Well, it's fine if he was just evil, but he was pretending to be nice at first.
Yeah, like why? Why go into evil mode just because she asked you about why he left? Like, what did you think she was gonna ask you? How the weather?
You want to know?
Something? I don't know.
No sympathy. Like, you could have done it way more like something like more complicated, but she still leaves. She's still upset. You know, you could have set it up way better. In my opinion, there's a couple parts in this movie. It's like there's a whole character that is only there for plot, and is like, and like disappears for like that. Because there's a couple parts in this movie where it's just like, oh, we need Rambo to be rescued. Oh, Rambo needs help finding out where the bad guys are. We'll give them a motivation, make them slightly interesting, but we'll do nothing with them. And even when Rambo asks for help, they just disappear. And it's like, what? I don't know.
Dude. I didn't even know who the reporter character was. I was like, who the hell is this?
Deus Machina reporter. The cartel killed my sister. That's why I'm following them. And it's like, I will help you, Rambo, because I saw you get beaten up by them. And it's like, I will tell you where they are, and then you'll never see me in the movie again. And it's like, okay.
All that part of the movie, him being in Mexico, is basically taken. He goes, he just for some reason decides to walk up to the cartel, like right up to them, right up into the house. Doesn't even take to the shadows, none of that stealth. He just walks right up. And granted, Rambo has balls for doing that. He literally just walked into the cartel, big house, knowing what he was going to go into, you know.
I have a couple. I think one, he wasn't thinking clearly, and two, he is kind of out of his element. He's in a city.
There's not, there's not really much you can do. He just didn't plan it out. He just was like, oh, I'm going to go up there and get my revenge. It's like, what? Like, what do you think you're going to do? Like, there's 80,000 of them in one of you. Like, what are you going to do, bro?
But I do love that. I do love how Rambo is out of his element, and we see him, we see how well he fares out of his element. But then he's like, motherfuckers, you're going to come into my element. You're gonna come.
At this point in the movie, though, it was going downhill, man, and I was really worried. I was sitting there, I was like, dude, this is not looking good at all. But then the movie decides to do a fucking U-turn and completely just do stuff that I'm like, okay, I actually do like this, or okay, I do like how dark they're taking it, because the storyline of the sex trading, you know, the sex slaves, and you know, all that happening with them trading the females in the streets and everything, and then drugging them up. And you really do, at first, you're like, these bad guys are generic, whatever, but you do grow to hate these villains. And it took them to the next level. It was almost as if Stallone was pushing this movie to the next level. It could have been, you know, generic, whatever type movie. But I don't know if it was Stallone or the director or the writer or somebody was just like, okay, we're going to put even more into this to make it just a little bit more interesting. And it's like the movie bumped up in quality around the halfway point, and it really got back into high gear. And it gets real dark. They beat up Rambo almost to death, which also that scene, I'm like, this is the fucking cartel. Why is he being beaten up and left there? Like, no, he should. Like, they fucking brutally kill people for. I don't know. That was a little weird. I was like,
Well,
okay, they carved
I
an
think
XS
what they were
face.
going for is they underestimated him and they wanted him to feel the pain. They're like, we're going to put this mark on you and we're going to put this mark on your granddaughter and you're never going to see her again. And we'll leave this mark to remind you what happens when you fuck with the cartel so you can kind of pass it on, you know? If any
Yeah.
other father wants to come up here and try to rescue, you know, they didn't realize. Well, they read it off, but they didn't take it seriously because this is one of those movies, which a few of the Rambo movies are like that, but this is like to the 10th degree. This is a you fucked with the wrong motherfucker movie where the villains are big and bad and they're like, we're the baddest thing around, and then they meet something badder that like fucking, you know.
Yeah. And I do think that the cartel are the perfect villains for Rambo because, like, the cartel, they're out here doing the sex slave trading thing. They're having the drugs on the
Yeah.
street. They're out here murdering people. So I do think it's a good set of villains for Rambo. I don't think they're as memorable as certain other ones, but I do think they're pretty good villains for the movie. And
Yeah.
man, when Rambo recovers and like one day it seems he's all beaten up, his face is all swollen, and like one scene later he's back to being healed. But besides that, he goes into revenge mode, and from that point on, I started loving this movie. And he just grabs a fucking hammer, beats the shit out of these people with the fucking hammer to the balls, clubbering guys' faces in, um, getting the daughter, getting out of there, getting the granddaughter, getting out of there. On his way back, unfortunately, the granddaughter does pass away, and it's a really tragic and beautiful scene. And I think
Yeah.
that scene is acted very well. It's lit very well. It's shot very well. And Rambo knows at that point that the cartel, like that they have, at this point, she's gone, but he's going to get
Yeah.
even. It goes back,
Well,
decapitates some people, he's brutally stabbing people. It's really
and
dark.
they set it up perfectly too, because earlier in the movie, again going back to the Rambo I love, where he's telling the granddaughter like, please don't go out. Which I get why she wants to go out. You know, she has these questions. She wants to know why. That I don't think that's stupid. Yeah, she made a dumb mistake going to Mexico, but I can understand the emotions there. If you're abandoned by someone, truly abandoned by someone that was supposed to be there for you, you're gonna wonder why. But I love that scene where he's like, I know how black a man heart can be, and she's like, maybe he's changed, and he's like, men like that don't change, and she's like, you changed, and he's like, no, I didn't. It just takes every day. I'm fighting to keep that beast within every
Mm-hmm.
fucking day, and it
Yeah.
really sets it up. You're waiting, and this Rambo, he's truly a fucking beast. He is a monster in this
Yeah.
movie.
He fucking goes in, he's brutally stabbing people, he's fucking decapitating people, and he leaves that as a message and challenges the cartel. And of course, he goes home, tells the other person that he was having at the house with him. He's telling her like, "You got to get out of here. You got to go. There's nothing more here." She gets out of there, and then it becomes Rambo's element, the farmhouse, that we've always heard about in the series. It's fitting that the series ends um, at the farmhouse, where even his home, he spent 4 movies trying to get to his home, and it ended up being his final battlefield. Man, it's such a fitting
Hopefully.
ending. Yeah, hopefully, because I've heard they want to make more.
I'm the
Rambo
like, dude,
6.
him making those tunnels and him setting up, and then you could tell at parts they're like, we're trying to be more brutal than part 4, and it's like they're really pushing that, but at the same time they give it a reason. They don't just do mindless score for mindless score. You get why
Yeah.
he's doing this, and I love it. It's a callback to original Rambo, the traps. The
Yeah.
traps, him
Some of
running
the
around, him
Vietnam
slicing
inspired
people.
traps too. A lot of those
Yeah.
traps are Vietnam War inspired traps. They weren't just generic, oh, we're
Oh
just
yeah.
building some traps to be cool. Like, no,
Well,
they've
like
got
in the first one.
yeah, like the first, a lot of homages to the first one. And yeah, a lot of the action in this scene is really Rambo just having traps everywhere and popping up and shooting people, and he's getting shot, he's bleeding, and he's just still fighting, still taking them down, impaling spears and spikes through people. It's just like it really does rival the fourth movie's ending as far as the gore and brutality. I think four and this have two, four, and this, and I also think First Blood has a great finale. And hell, even Rambo. I mean, they all have great finales. Even Rambo 3, you have a tank versus a fucking helicopter. I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty cool. But yeah, a
Every
lot of what is it?
I said every finale is really good. My bad.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, like a lot of the finales, they all have memorable parts to them, and yeah, this one, it's just crazy. I was just marking out for this movie, just seeing Rambo go through, cutting fucking heads off at one swoop, throwing a fucking just blade at someone's head and the sticks in their head. People falling down in the spikes. It's one of the most nuts finales you'll see, and it ends with him with the arrow against the last villain. I love how he talks to the last guy on the walkie-talkie before he kills him. He's like, "They're
Yeah.
all dead. They're all fucking dead." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna rip your heart out and make you feel like how I feel." It's just such a brutal performance there. Rambo's truly at his darkest in that moment.
I saved you for last, and it's like, and then we get the fucking Mortal Kombat kill.
Yeah, the mortal fatality.
The heart is beating. It's fucking awesome. The heart's still beating. Rambo
like
wins.
typical heart that gets taken out. Like,
Yeah.
how when people rip out hearts, that's that generic look. Like, doesn't, I don't know, it's still beating. It's really over the top.
Rambo wins.
Fatality. That had to be because of the Mortal Kombat game that he was in.
But
maybe it was a throwback to that.
Maybe. Like, even after that, though, we get the scene where he's like, I will fight to keep the memories of them alive. I might still be in this war. And I love the ending credits, and I love that even though he went to that darkest point, they make sure to show us that he's coming back from that he won't let that darkness consume him, that there's still hope. There's still that little ray of hope left.
Yeah, because even after he finally kills the lead villain, he just goes on his front porch. He's bleeding out, and he's just sitting there rocking the chair, looking at the aftermath. And you're wondering, well, you do see Rambo ride off on the horse, right?
Yeah. At the end, you see him right up on the horse, and he does say, "I'm gonna keep the. I lost so many people, but I'm gonna keep them alive. In my memory and stuff, or keep their memories alive. I'm gonna fight for that." And yeah, I love that.
Yeah, because I was wondering if they were going to keep it ambiguous, like if they were going to have a scene where Rambo sits down, he's bleeding out, he's sitting in the chair, and I feel like if you didn't have Rambo say that dialogue or write off, it could have been implied like, okay, did he bleed out and die, or did he survive? I thought they were going to kind of do one of those endings. But yeah,
Wait, what
this
is
is
Sasha talking about?
like a ray of hope. Does that remind you of anything, Sasha? Never looked at that in any form at all, ever. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, Last Blood. What is your final rating, thoughts on it? I'd give it a 4, a solid 4. Not as high as the first two or fourth one, but I think it's a lot better than part 3. I think it has definitely some of the best moments of the series, but at the same time, has some moments where it's weak in some points. The story is a little rocky here and there. Could have been a little bit better as far as the in between stuff, but overall, I really enjoyed it. What's your final thoughts on Rambo
Well,
Last Blood?
the thing is, maybe on rewatches I'll give it a 5, but for now it's a 4. Great take on Rambo. Definitely not a cash grab. Like I said, maybe not the ending we wanted, but the ending we deserved. It's the more. I think it's more true to the Rambo character. Although part 4, perfect ending. Part 5, I think, is a little bit more true to his character and more to the tragedy of it. And the side of Rambo, at least I love the tragic side. That. And I get it has some problems. I have some problems with it. When he's playing the music in the tunnel, I thought that was a little silly. There are parts where I was like, oh shit, like Deus Machina reporter. But I still really like this. And before we actually end it on this, I want to ask you a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Now, a lot of people are turned off of this movie, I hear, from two things. One is Gabrielle dying, and two is the portrayal of the villains being Hispanic. And we got to remember, this came out around Trump America, which did not help things at all. Did not give this movie any favors. So, like, do you think that those are valid points to dislike the movie on, or do you see the character? Do you see this movie as racist, or how do you see this movie?
Um, wow, it's a great question. Because there were some moments where I was wondering, like, okay, why are they speaking Hispanic for like 2 minutes and they're going to English, and then they're going back to Hispanic and they're going back to English, and I was just like, what? Like, I don't know. It did kind of portray it a little weird. I wouldn't say in a necessarily racist way, but I don't know if it was totally an accurate portrayal of Hispanic people, and it did feel kind of strange at times. But as far as the granddaughter passing away, I thought it added to the story, and it added
Yeah.
it helped the ending, and it helped Rambo get to that place that he needed to be in this movie. And I didn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't say it's racist, but I would say it kind of feels a little maybe stereotypical at times, or maybe there's times where the dialogue is a little weird and they're speaking Hispanic for like 2 seconds and going back to English. Don't know why. It's just a little
Yeah.
bit, but I don't necessarily have problems with it. It's just something I noticed, I guess. I
I
can see it
can
though a little bit.
I can see where people are coming from, but at the same time, I think you can make an argument for a lot of the movies from the 80s like that, like, and a lot of the other Rambo movies to a certain degree. So it's like, I didn't really see it as Hispanic bad. I saw it as cartel. I respect people's opinions, and I respect that maybe some people didn't want a Rambo movie to go. Like, maybe they didn't want him to lose the granddaughter, but I don't know. I think the biggest problem this movie really had was coming out around Trump America. Maybe if it didn't do that, it wouldn't have as much of that stigma to it. But you're coming out around Trump America, and you got Mexicans as the bad guys, and you're showing like the dirty side of Mexico, like the bad side of town, and it's like, oh no, this is horrible timing. This is horrible timing. You know?
Yeah, and it's like, well, when she gets to Mexico, her friend sells her out. Every person that she meets is kind of a dirt bag or scummy or whatever. The portrayal of the way that the streets look and everything looks real dangerous and really grimy and stuff. When you point it out that way, it's like thinking back on it. Yeah, I mean, like most of that
I'm
portrayal of Mexico is just really like grimy and just.
I don't think they were trying to say that about all Mexico. I think they just wanted it to be the bad side of the town where, not Rambo, fucking the cartel is going crazy. The
Yeah,
cartel's running
yeah,
shit. I don't think. I think and I respect people's opinions on that. Like I said, I'm not Hispanic or Mexican or of anything like that. So if someone of that ethnicity thinks that's racist, I can't tell them, I can, that's, they know more than me, that's all I'm
right.
saying.
Yeah, I maybe noticed it a little bit, but I don't think it was necessarily over the top racist type stuff. It was just like kind of like maybe obviously American choices to do for the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the granddaughter dying too. I didn't really have a problem with that. Is just people thought she should have lived and not died.
That's what I've heard is people thought maybe it's a little too dark, but I don't know. We just came off of Rambo fucking 4.
Yeah.
I mean,
We got something in the story.
they just tossed a random baby away. It's like, we didn't have an emotional connection to that baby. Wait, what? we had an emotion. We had an emotional connection to Gabrielle, not that baby.
There wasn't enough character development. What the fuck?
I wanted to see a few scenes of the mother feeding the baby. Then I would have loved it more.
Oh Jesus, man. Well, that's Rambo. Yeah. That is the Rambo franchise, though. We went from First Blood to Last Blood. Overall thoughts, man. I think this is one of the greatest action franchises out there, and it deserves all the credit it gets, and sometimes it deserves more credit in certain points.
Yeah.
And I think Stallone does great in every movie. So
yeah,
I know it's
no,
Sasha's favorite movies. I know Sasha's been loving us talking about it so much, but what are your final thoughts on the Rambo franchise?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sasha. We can talk about it more if you want, but no.
3 more hours.
I love Sasha. He's gonna block us now, but
Probably.
but I love this franchise. First Blood is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's right outside the top 10. It's tied for my favorite action film with Terminator 2. I love First Blood. I think it's on a next level. I love the Rambo character. I love how tragic he is. I love tragic characters. I love characters that are more than they seem. And you can look on the outside and see Rambo as just this, like, especially in the later movies, as just this badass kind of like a John Matrix from Commando, or a lot of other action movies of that time. Just insert Rambo here, but he's way more than that. He's a deeper character with deeper struggles. And yes, it's fun watching him tear people apart. But I also love those moments where he's just talking and being genuinely himself, and just, talking about his hardships, or having a bonding moment with somebody, or just some of my favorite moments is him just talking, not fighting, not killing, just talking, or just not even talking, just standing there and just, doing something, doing an action, or just being, like reminiscing on his life and shit, like in the end of the day, yes, yes, the action is fun, but it's really the heart and soul of the tragedy of the character of Rambo that I love. And you know, that's why I keep coming back to this franchise. It's really just that Rambo character. And I know there's a lot of other characters, and there's a lot of other characters I love as well, and a lot of people are drawn towards Rocky, and a lot of, like, like I'm just bringing it up because it's a Stallone character and a lot of other characters, but there's something about Rambo that's just very special and speaks to me on other levels. I always like the character with the beast inside and stuff like that. The character trying to get too good and being pushed and just the tragedy. And yeah, my bad, I'm rambling, but I fucking love Rambo. That's it. I'm done. Sorry. My bad.
Sorry about that. Somebody came in right at the end of it.
My bad. I was going on a fucking ramble.
Honestly, that was beautiful. Yeah, it was a great speech, man. I completely agree with everything you said. Just the tragedy of Rambo, what he goes through, the test that he gets put through in every movie, and he keeps going. It's somehow a character that can live with a lot of darkness and sadness and sorrow. And so even though it is a sad story, it's also inspirational because it shows that, with Rambo going through all this stuff and still alive, he's still living. It is kind of inspirational in the same way. It's a little bit of a different inspiration than Rocky, but
Yeah, I'm not trying to put down Rocky. I like Rocky. I'll just say I don't know. I just brought it up because they're both Stallone characters, but no, I like Rocky. Great franchise, great character. I'm not trying to shit on Rocky. Good character.
Yeah, they're both great stories. But you put it perfectly. I don't even think I can really add anything to that. You said it perfectly. Great franchise. John Rambo is a great character, very relatable. And just, man, Stallone did a great job. And that is our journey of Rambo coming to an end. I want to thank you so much for being on the stream, Trenchy. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know that you were really passionate about, especially First Blood. So I really wanted to get you on here and hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I talk too much. I'm doing the exact opposite of Rambo right now. I'm pulling a Rocky. I'm talking.
If I can change, you can change. Anyone can change. It was fun, man. This was a great topic to talk about, and it was good going through the Rambo franchise with you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. This was extra fun. Fucking Sasha, you're Ramboing. That's. But yeah, no, man. It's really good. Just it was really fun revisiting them. It was really fun, talking about it the last few days, going through this journey together in a way, and it was really nice to talk with somebody that loves the franchise about the same level and just loves this character and gets him, truly gets him. Because I feel like a lot, I'm not trying to say anything, but I feel like some people just might watch Rambo for the action and not get the character, but people like you and Sasha and John and a lot of other people, you guys get the character.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just the explosions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great having you on. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, that's it. The road has finally come to an end. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Trenchy, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. And that's it for the Rambo journey.
Again, thanks for having me. Stay frosty, everybody. The road is long.
Sasha's like, yes, finally.
With many unwinding paths.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Spoiler 4 is out.
Bye.